Okay guys, I'm going to have to apologise in advance for this video. As the title suggests, it's going to probably annoy quite a lot of people, but I've tried for a very long time to not make this video. There's been a big part of me that's not wanted to sort of deface an entire 40k race, but through so much 6th edition experience now, and it's also a combination of people also trying to defend the Necrons. So this is going to be a rant. I'm going to try and keep it as structured as I can. I have a little list on the table here in front of me of things that I want to say and I want to get included into this video. But as it's a rant, it may sort of go off track and it may end up being longer than I want it to. But it's probably going to end up being quite long anyway. So I'll put the warning up in the title. Okay, Necrons. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that as much as any other race, Necrons are a great army. If you want to collect Necrons, that's fine. I've got nothing against anyone that plays Necrons, for a start, so I want to say that, make that perfectly clear. If you play Necrons, well actually, I'm going to recant that statement slightly. If you play Necrons before the book, if you've played Necrons for a very long time, then I'll let you off. If you play Necrons because you think they're cool and the models are awesome, then I'll let you off. But if you picked up Necrons because you know that they're the best army at the moment, and they are the best army without any argument, and if anyone tries to argue with me, I will prove you wrong. Necrons are by far and away the best army at the moment. A quick prover of this point, I was at the recent Throne of Skulls in July in the UK, and of the top 5 tables, so top 10 players, 8 of them were playing with Necrons. Now, read into that what you will, but that's quite ridiculous, to be honest. Out of the top 10 players, 8 of them are Necrons. So, yeah, if you're playing Necrons because you know they're the most powerful army and that's the sole reason that you're playing Necrons, then you fall into the category of, I kind of think you're a douchebag. There you go, I admit it, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Now I'm going to get into the reason why Necrons are so horrible in the current edition. Now when Necrons dropped, when the new codex came out, it was 5th edition. And they were amazing then. The new book really gave them a boost. I personally don't think they were that bad anyway. The book was dated, but it could be played. It could be played well. It was hard to play, but it could definitely be played well. All it took was, a bit of intelligence, a bit of finesse, but the army could be played well. I think with the new Necron book, it's very forgiving, even more so than Marines ever were. Marines have always been looked upon as the beginner army because you can get away with a lot with Marines. Necrons are even worse than that now. There is nothing bad about the Necron Codex at all. And there's not one unit in that book that you can say is completely garbage. Whereas with most of the codexes, I'll mention Tyranids because that's the army I'm currently playing. I can think of the top of my head probably 4 or 5 units that are utter garbage and you should never ever see the tabletop. Pyrovores, Biovores, to name 2. I'd argue Venomthropes, they're okay, but for the points and how fragile they are, no, just don't even go there. Morlocks, why would you take one when you've got Trigons? This is just proving a point. It's off topic. Again, I apologise, it's a rant. Whereas the Necron Codex, probably the worst unit in that book, arguably, is the Flayed ones, and they're still pretty good. Excuse me, guys. So I'm going to start going through my points here as to why I think Necrons are so horrible and why I have a problem with them at the moment. The first point is a general point for the whole book, and it's the fact that everything in that book is so undercosted. Everything is so cheap. Everything is such a low points cost per unit ability. Now what I mean by this is, how much bang do you get for your book? If you look at something like a 10-man Terminator squad, it's 400 points, but you get 400 points worth of models. Okay, it's an expensive unit, but it's worth its points. When you look at the Necron Codex, you have warriors. Now, warriors were very expensive in the previous book, I will admit that. But they have too much of a price drop in this book. A 5-point decrease is massive, considering that they weren't made any worse. Okay, their armor save dropped, and the wheel with back rolls will dropped, but they get it all the time now. You can't ignore it. So, in my opinion, wheel with back's actually better. You can argue that it's worse because it's a 5 up, not a 4+, but you get it all the time now. Regardless of what you're hit with, you get your reanimation protocols all the time. That's amazing. And the fact that now Gauss weapons are like godly, particularly against vehicles, it's just insane. To justify a 5-point decrease per warrior is just silly. And also what ties into the warriors is the fact that phase out was removed. That was the one weakness that Necrons had. The one weakness. And now it's gone. And they've still been decreased by 5 points a model. It is just insane. How Matt Ward can justify that in his Codex Ryan, I have no idea. Again, we're sticking with the low points cost theory, is we have Wraiths. What you pay for a Wraith is so much less than what it should be. They're less than a Terminator, and they're at least twice as good as a Terminator. Again, I will argue that with anybody. 4 attacks on the charge, rending, strength 6, ignore cover completely, move 12 inches, 3+ invulnerable save all the time, multiple wounded. For how cheap they are in the Necron Codex, that is ridiculous. The fact that most tournament armies are around, say, 1500 points plus, can take 2 units of 6 of those guys is criminal. Absolutely criminal. And the other thing I find highly underpointed, there's 2 more things, one of them I'm going to keep to their own section, is the Annihilation Barge. That thing for 90 points is horrendous. That should be at least 20 points more expensive, at least 20 points. I can sort of see where they went with it, in the fact that it's armor 11 in theory. But you still have to penetrate armor 13, and that's easier said than done. You know? When you look at other vehicles out there, like Sisters of Battle Exorcist, I've been playing with those recently as well. You know, it's armor 13 in the front, and they're taxed heavily for that. 135 points they are. And yet, I'd rather have an Annihilation Barge over an Exorcist any day of the week. It's nearly half the points cost. It's stupid. So cheap. And the fact, this all compounds into the fact that Necrons outnumber most armies they play against. An army as good and as elite as Necrons should never, ever outnumber anybody. Anybody. It's just criminal. I've put together a few 1500 point armies, you know, like when you write down theory army lists on paper, and the amount of stuff I've been able to fit in at 1500 points, I had to go back and re-add it up just to make sure I've not made a mistake, because it just doesn't seem right. And it's this general low points cost that I think really does fracture the Codex and completely make it unbalanced. If everything was slightly more expensive, you know, you wouldn't quite be able to fit everything you want in, and then, you know, Necrons would be balanced. But the fact that everything is so cheap, it really does break the Codex. And I never like to say that an army or a unit or anything is broken, but I just can't find a defense for the Necron Codex in terms of point costs. Okay, so I've kind of got that out of the way. I'm going to try and get to the next point now before I keep ranting any further. It kind of sticks with the same theory, again with the low points, but it's the stupidly overpowered pieces of war gear that Necrons have access to for such a low points cost. What I'm talking about here is Mind Shackle Scarabs, first of all. Again, how they can be justified to be 15 points is beyond me, considering you can have the most tooled up combat monster on the game, and for 15 points you have a 50-50 chance of being completely nerfed. You know, you look at You know, the average roll of 3d6 is 10.5. Highest leadership you're going to get is 10. And it's 50% of the time you're going to fail that Mind Travel Scarab test and hit yourself. Or hit the unit you're in. So for that to be 15 points, I think is horrendously underpointed. If you think that's the best you can get is leadership 10. And it's a 50-50 chance of completely nerfing you. I run Trigons at leadership 8. I hate Mind Shackle Scarabs. The fact that they can be used on any model. It would be so bad if they were one use, or if they could only be used on enemy independent characters. It'd be great. They'd probably balance them slightly. But it can be any modelling based contact. Has to take a leadership test on 3 dice, or can't do anything and hits itself. How they are 15 points. Someone, you know, the Codex writer is going to have to sit me down and explain their thinking on that one, of why they are 15 points. Because what you pay there is insane. You look at some of the other upgrades. This is how we compare things. 15 points. You look in other codexes, what do you get for 15 points? 15 points will get you a plasma pistol. That's right, a plasma pistol. 15 points gets you extra armor. Extra armor is 15 points. And yet, Mind Shackle Scarabs is 15 points. How is... where's the justification for this points costing? Another piece of war gear that I find ridiculous is the Solar Pulse. The ability to completely ignore night fighting or create night fighting at any point in the game without having to roll for it, without it being in your own turn. Right at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you can just go, night fighting. Sorry, dude. All your shooting is now completely nerfed. And that's so cheap, 20 points. And yet, the payback for Solar, even though it's one use, the payback for Solar Pulse is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's the fact that it's a guaranteed thing. If you had to roll for it and it was a 4+ or a 3+ even, it'd be fine, because there'd be that chance, they paid the points for it and it wouldn't go off. But no, it's 20 points and they're guaranteed to get night fighting or ignore night fighting. And I think that's highly unbalanced and broken right there. Another piece of war gear. Again, I could go on for hours and hours through every piece of war gear they've got, but I'm going to keep it short. So one more is the Eldritch Lance. Now the Eldritch Lance, for 10 points, guys. Remember, this is 10 points. You pretty much get a Dark Lance that's an assault weapon. I mean, Dark Eldar players must be rolling round in absolute anger at this. I used to play Eldar, and the Eldritch Lance has got the same profile as a Bright Lance, except it's not technically a lance type weapon, and yet it's a quarter of the points cost of a Bright Lance. Strength 8, AP 2, and yet it's 75% cheaper. It's the exact same weapon. In fact, it's not the exact same weapon, because Eldar Bright Lances were heavy weapons. Okay, well, actually, the models that could take Bright Lances could move and fire them anyway, but they were still heavy weapons. This is an assault weapon, and it's 10 points. I want justification on that. And again, I'm coming across Necron players all the time, finding things to complain about, finding this and that and other things to just complain about, and to put it into perspective. What you get in that codex is horrendously powerful, and anyone that tries to justify Necrons, I will argue tooth and nail. Tooth and nail, I'll argue with them that Necrons are not balanced in any way, shape or form. Okay, moving on. This is another piece of war gear, but I think it deserves its own little section in this video. Now what I'm talking about here is the Necron War Scythe. Just the very mention of that piece of war gear makes my blood boil. The Necron War Scythe. Now, when it was introduced, it wasn't so bad. You looked at it and thought, yeah, +2 strength for a power weapon, that's pretty good. It's a good weapon. 6th edition dropped. Completely nerfed power weapons. But a War Scythe manages to keep its AP1 value without becoming unwieldy, and keeps its +2 strength, and kept its armor bane. So if you look at a power weapon, hits at the strength of the user, AP3, 15 points for the most part. I can't think of anyone that gets it any cheaper than 15 points. War Scythe, +2 strength, AP1, armor bane, not unwieldy, 10 points. How does that add up? How, in any universe, does that equate to being balanced? The next book that comes out the power weapon in, I expect them to be 5 points. If power weapons are not 5 points in the next codex, then I want justification as to why War Scythe is 10 points, because it's at least twice as good. At least twice as good. Now, you probably say, well, you know, Necron Lords and things are only a weapon skill 4. That doesn't matter. Okay, so you're going to hit less with it, but if you're a Destroy Lord, you get preferred enemy. Chances are you're gonna pick up 3 out of those 4 hits most of the time. And it doesn't matter if you hit less. When you hit like a ton of bricks. The War Scythe is the one thing, I think, in the book that annoys me the most. Maybe. There's a lot in there, trust me. I'm toning this down for you guys. But yeah, the War Scythe being 10 points for how good it is, I need that explained to me, because I can't find any serious justification for that anywhere. There's nothing that says to me that 10 points isn't adequate points level for a War Scythe. So, if you guys disagree with me, and I'm sure there's plenty of you that do, there's probably plenty of you that are screaming at your monitor now, going, what the hell are you on about? Stop whinging. That's fine. Put it in the comments and we'll have it out, because I guarantee I'll prove you wrong. I will guarantee it. Moving on to the next section. The next little thing I've got a qualm about the Necron book is their flyers. When the Necron book came out in 5th edition, no one took Night Scythes. No one really took Doom Scythes. You know, people went for the Doomsday Arc, the Ghost Arc, the Annihilation Barge, but no one really went for the Night Scythe or Doom Scythe. Fast forward a few months, 6th edition comes out. Now every Necron army has got at least 2 Night Scythes in it. And it's no surprise as to why, because they are the most ridiculously overpowered flyer in the game at the moment. Now, some of you probably may disagree with me, but let me explain myself. Flyers have a generic weakness. You look at the Storm Raven, the Storm Talon, the Dakka Jet. They've all got one thing in common. All their guns are forward facing. Couple that with the fact that they have to fly forward, or at a 90-degree angle, you can kind of avoid their lanes of fire. You know, you can get behind them, you can't shoot you. Necron flyers are graced with having a turret weapon. So, you get behind them, they still shoot you. And until the FAQ says otherwise, the Doom Scythes can hit enemy flyers. Because it's not a template weapon. It has Skyfire, even though it doesn't use a ballistic skill, it has the Skyfire special rule, so therefore it can hit flyers with its line. So, yeah, the fact that they don't have as much firepower as other flyers is irrelevant, because the chances are they're going to get to use it more often than the other flyers, and the Tesla cannons shouldn't be overlooked anyway, because they're horrible. You know, if you play Necrons or played against Necrons, you'll know how bad those Tesla Destructors are. Another thing with the Necron flyers, if you're mounted up in a Storm Raven, for example, and the Storm Raven crashes, you take a strength 10 hit with no armor saves. It's, you know, that's fair enough. You were in a plane and it crashed. It's going to hurt a little, it's going to sting, you know. You mount up a Night Scythe with 10 warriors, and the Night Scythe crashes, nothing happens to warriors. They go back into reserve, and then walk on from the table edge. So, when you're placing objectives, for example, you can put 1, 2 in the midfield, and just put 1 right back in your corner. So, when inevitably one of those Night Scythes drops, your warriors just walk on and claim the objective. How can there be one ruling for one flyer and completely change that rule for another flyer? Another thing with the Necron flyer special rule is their invasion beams. Necron warriors are allowed to disembark from the night scythe even when it zooms, even when it flies. No one else can do this, but the Necron night scythe can. No penalty, you know, they just go to the ground. They just float down on their little beams of magic light and everything's fine. So the Necron flyers grind my gears, and the fact that, again, going back to my first point about how cheap they are, a night scythe is 100 points. That's less than half the points of a Storm Raven. Sorry, I just need to take a few seconds there. I'm getting more and more infuriated as this video goes on. One more thing that has come to my attention whilst doing this video. I didn't write it down on this list, but it's come to my attention halfway through, so I've saved it till the end to mention it, is the Necron Lord's Catacomb Command Barge thing. Now, when this thing came out, it was horrendous. The fact that it could turbo boost over your models and you could attack them in the movement phase with his full attacks, with his profile, with his war scythe, and hit you on 4+, never worse than a 4+. And he could pick out characters, you know, the 6. We saw the precision striking come in there and then. Was horrible. It was so horrible. Luckily, the speed of the chariot got slowed down somewhat, but it's still as bad as it was. It does, you know, its D6 impact hits. You know, if you destroy the chariot, he doesn't die with it. He just stays locked in combat with you. If the thing's armor 13, it's another one of the things that annoys me to high heaven. I think the chariot, if it was a piece of war gear rather than transport, it would be balanced. But if you're lucky enough to be able to kill the command barge, the guy just gets off it and goes about his daily business. Considering how powerful the command barge is, that shouldn't be allowed. I think, you know, if the chariot's blown up while he's on it, he should die. Or it should be like a dice off, like 4+, he lives, on a 1 to 3, you know, he goes with the chariot or something like that to balance it out. And also coupling the fact that you can move over a unit in the movement phase, attack them, shoot a unit in the shooting phase, and then charge it. So in effect, you can, you know, the Necron Lord can attack and potentially kill 2 units in one turn. There's not really any other unit in the game at the moment that can do that. Okay, arguably, you know, Flying Monster Creatures can Vector Strike things, but there's nowhere near as powerful as being able to take 3 attacks with a War Scythe. No way is that as good. And again, how cheap the command barge is doesn't justify what you get in return. So I think I've gone on long enough about why I don't like Necrons. Again, I've probably annoyed a lot of people, mainly Necron players. If I have annoyed you, it's okay. I'm sorry. Tell me what I've said that's annoyed you, and you know, let's debate it. I'm sure you've got an opinion you want to say to me, so let's air it out. But the one thing that worries me most about the Necron Codex is it was clearly written for 6th edition. It's clearly written for 6th. If you look at the Necron Codex, and when it came out, people were trying to pick and spot the things that would come up in 6th edition. A lot of people guessed right. So the Necron book was clearly written for 6th edition. So I guess in a way, it's only fair that it is the best book at the moment. You know, it's in the meta it was designed for. What worries me is if this is the benchmark, how much worse is it going to get? You know, are GW going to try and balance out the playing field? Like 8th edition fantasy, a lot of their new books are fairly balanced. You know, okay, maybe with the exception of Ogres, because that book's amazing. Most of the new books are fairly well balanced. You know, not many of them are too overpowered. However, 40k doesn't seem to be this way. It seems every new codex tries to trump the previous one. You know, so what worries me is when the new books come out, you know, rumours are it's Chaos and Dark Angels and whatever may be coming after that. You know, check the rumour mills. Are they going to be even worse? Are they going to be even more powerful? Or are they going to start bringing in a few things that are going to, you know, balance out the playing field a little bit? You know, are these new codexes going to have access to flak missiles to have more reliable anti-air? You know, are we going to see more specific war gear per codex? You know, you're going to be able to get special power weapons that are still ignore armor saves, these kind of things. And it's the worrying thing to think about is, you know, are Necrons going to be the new benchmark for codexes? And it's a worrying thought. It's worrying me at the moment, guys. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Rant over. Complain if you will. I'm not going to apologise for my opinions. I'm not going to go at anyone that plays Necrons. This isn't a personal attack on anyone that has a Necron army. This is just my opinion about a poorly written codex, in my opinion. So, don't think that I'm hating on Necron players, because I'm not. I'm just got a few problems with the way the codex was written and the justifications of things in there. So, if you've got comments, keep the flames out of it. Try and keep them constructive, and we'll debate the matter. Okay guys, cheers for watching, cheers for sticking with it. I did warn you it was long. Cheers guys.